What up, people?
It's on Southern Time.
We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and this is Playing in Traffic with Louis Lee and Lou Santiago, but Lou is unavailable tonight, so just be us and the fellas. Go ahead, fellas, introduce yourself.
Go ahead, Ray.
All right, Ray Guarino, Motormouth Radio, Long Island, New York, and here to play.
Me too. I'm Tori de Blasi, also from Long Island, New York. And if you have a problem with your rear end, not to worry. I have all the essentials to rebuild that troublesome rear differential. And tonight our guest is Greg Reimche from LSX Concepts. We're just trying to get him into the chat room. So please stand by. It's going to be a great show. He's I can't tell you how impressed I am with him, his business model. He's out of Carson City, Nevada, where the U.S. Mint used to be. And Ray, we spoke about this before. You know how you and me are over the top and how we, really we overthink things, we go overboard.
Yeah.
This guy here, he took every conceivable, problem or shortcoming with these, front, serpentine systems for the LS motor.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he addressed every single one of them. There's nothing bad I can say about it. I mean, if I had, the skills that he had, I would have designed it exactly the way he did it.
Right. Is that who Terry used for his latest engine build?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he used a stock.
Now he mentioned an aftermarket, and he showed it on one of his videos. It was about a month ago.
Okay.
Beautiful aluminum. I guess it's obviously billet, but somebody had made it. I don't know if it was a local guy. I'm kind of thinking it might have been a local guy, but certainly somebody this caliber who can step up and engineer something and then make it, which is great.
Yeah, you see, when you want the problems with the old cars, putting the LSA supercharger in there, the way the factory has it set up, your accessories are down low, so your compressor and your alternator are down low, and there's no frame issues in the new cars, but you put that in a Chevelle, a GTO, a Tri-5, you have a lot of clearance issues with the front member. Hey, Greg, how are you?
How's it going, Greg?
I had to ditch the PC.
Yeah.
Wasn't cooperating.
That's okay. How you doing?
Whatever works.
Pretty good.
Hey, that looks like a pretty fancy machine behind you.
Yeah, that's my VF1. So that's my baby.
I think everybody should have one of those.
I was gonna say I got a BH out in the toolbox. So use that all the time. Jeez.
Okay, Greg, we're live on YouTube and Facebook, so if you can introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and all the good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Greg Reimche, CEO and owner of LSX Concepts out of Carson City, Nevada. Been doing this for a couple of years. I think we're just getting ready to celebrate our 5th year doing this.
Nice.
But overall, I've been in the automotive industry all my life.
Nice.
How'd
you get your start in the automotive industry, Greg?
I was literally born into it. My dad was a foreign car mechanic, BMWs, Ferraris, Mercedes, stuff like that. My grandfather had a true blacksmith automotive shop built in the 1950s, and he ran it all the way up until his death, pretty much. I got my start tearing apart motors for my dad when I was probably 8 or 9.
Greg, wow. What is a blacksmith automotive shop? Explain that, please.
Well, a blacksmith automotive shop is a shop where when you came in and you had a bad alternator, we fixed the alternator. We didn't replace it.
Okay.
When you needed a cylinder bored in the motor, we bored it in the car.
Okay, wow.
That's real man stuff there.
Yeah, I never heard that term. I know, like, even working in shops in the 70s, we used to, a starter would come in, we'd take it out, and we'd replace the starter drive or the brushes. They used to repair stuff instead of replacing it. But, then the cottage industries came up, and we have rebuilding shops all over the place. Well, we had. Yeah. We don't anymore.
It's kind of hard for me to hear you guys. Let me try plugging in my headset here and see if I can get some better sound.
Louis, while I got the chance, congratulations on your prestigious award last week.
Thank you. Wait a minute.
I saw that.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right. That's a little better.
Excellent.
That's a little better now.
Much better, Greg. Much better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Peaches went out and took best of her class.
The trophy's as colorful as the bike. It's very
Yeah.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So Scott came from Boston, and he won something too. I didn't catch what class he won, but his
Oh, did he? Okay.
his truck won. He won a trophy and stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got to meet him in person. That was cool.
Okay.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Well deserved. I know you put a lot of hard work into that bike over the years.
Yeah.
Shows.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Appreciate it.
Did you ever do the floorboards like you wanted to? Did that project ever get done?
It's close. I just have to weld my brackets to hold them on. Before tonight, I'll run out and grab them and show you. And Mitch sent me my new lights to go in the plexiglass.
Yeah.
So it's all gonna light up. Mitch hooked me up.
Nice.
Yep.
Radiance.
Sweet.
Radiance LED lights. If anybody wants to check them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Greg, just in case you missed it, Lewis Lee has a bike called Peaches. And he's working on it, and he won an award at the Hot Rod Super Nats in Canfield, Ohio over the weekend. So
Very nice. Congratulations.
Cool. Appreciate it. Yep, it was a good win, especially hometown. This is my.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's awesome. So Greg, before we interrupted, you were talking about your dad's shop being and Ray and I talk about this all the time. How we're in such a disposable society now.
Oh yeah.
Nobody wants to rebuild anything, whether it's a posi unit, an alternator, a starter. Back in the day, you did that.
When I built my first engine, we built it out of used parts, and I got every part out of the boneyard, out of the back of the shop. I'd walk back there, and there's 50 or 60 motors sitting in the yard, and I would go scavenge through all of them, trying to find the best parts out of all of them, and built my first engine that way with all used parts. Ended up building a small block 327 with a Duntop 3030 camshaft in it, and had it in my 69 Nova. That's how we did things back then. We just rebuilt everything.
No,
I don't think I've ever had a new engine.
Really? Now I think that's a more of a school type thing, learning how to pick the right parts and if you have to modify them a little bit to make them work. So you took a class by doing that, really.
Yeah, I know. I pretty much grew up in the shop, and for many years I did that. And then in my early 20s, I went to work at a car dealer. Started out as a parts runner, and within about 6 months, I was a service writer. And within about 2 years of that, I was assistant service manager. Did that for a number of years. And then in the early, let's see, what was it, 89, I believe, I moved up here to Nevada, and I went to work for a place called EPD, Engine Prototype Development. Now, you guys have probably never heard of that, but anybody who races pro stock does. The guy who ran the shop, Larry Olson, worked with Warren, worked with Grumpy Jenkins, Bob Glidden.
Wow.
I mean, all the big greats, he worked with him. He was probably the best cylinder head guy in the industry in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Anybody who was anybody bought heads from him or copied his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He designed the DRCE. He designed the E460 for Ford. He designed the B1 Pro Stock head for Dodge. Anybody who was anybody ran his stuff. And I went to work for him, and I worked for him for about 6 years, and basically ran the machine shop area and the front desk. And as it turns out, you see, the reason I actually got in working with Larry is Larry, when he was a teenager, lived in California, and he worked for my grandfather.
No kidding.
Yeah, so that's how I got that connection to EPD. And Larry did this stuff right up until the mid 2000s, until he retired. And he pretty much just closed up the shop and decided it was time to go play and not do cylinder heads anymore, because everybody, the industry had gotten so political that they basically, took away any real power he had in the industry. At one time we owned NMCA World Fastest Street Car stuff. Guys, Pat Musey and Spiro Pappas, all those guys, they all ran our stuff out of EPD. And they decided to get political and cut Larry out and threw all his parts out, saying your
Wow.
stuff's not legal. And that really made Larry upset, and he just kind of walked away and just said enough is enough. And after I stopped working for Larry, I actually changed industries and went into web development and database management and stuff like that. And I did that for a number of years, up until about 5 years ago. And I had a small stint of working at Summit Racing. I worked on their web group department, so I worked on the website. And I've worked with a number of large companies that did millions of dollars online in online sales, and I ran their whole online presence. And I was making really good money doing that. And so I opened up I rented out a shop. I had a 2,000 square foot shop, and I started building a race car. And
Nice.
yeah, and so I got together with Larry and had Larry help me design a couple of parts for the car. And I posted up some stuff online, and hey, check this out! I got ZL1 brakes on my '70 Chevelle, and a lot of people really like that. And so I had a bunch of people ask me to make them stuff, so I started making a couple of parts. I made part here, part there, and it just kind of snowballed. And I started working on the engine compartment, and found out I couldn't put high mount AC with an LSA supercharger on my car. And so we figured out how to do it. And that's pretty much what started the business.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I was telling Ray, I looked over your kit. What impressed me the most, you're actually using a full-size compressor. Everyone's using the SD7 or the 508. They're just so tiny, they don't have the punch to cool a car properly.
Yeah, in a '70 Chevelle, I wanted real air conditioning.
Yeah.
So I put the big compressor on it. And I couldn't put a compressor down low because I had dry sump. I had a dry sump pump down low. So, I couldn't even notch the frame to do it. So we designed our first kit, which was basically a spring-loaded tensioner with a 45.5-inch belt. And it worked fine for, the stock setup, stock crank pulley and stock upper pulley. And we ran that for probably 6 months to a year. And I started getting a lot of people saying, hey, I want to run an overdrive pulley. I want to run a 2.3 upper and a 10.5-inch lower. Well, the problem with our kit that we had is that there just really wasn't any belt to fit anything else.
You use an 8-rib belt for your kits, correct?
Yeah, we use an 8-rib belt for the
Nice.
supercharger and a 6-rib belt for all the accessories. So it's a 2-belt system, just like GM designed. We didn't want to stray too far from what GM did, because GM spends millions of dollars developing their stuff. They do things for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I read something that was very interesting. I'd like you to explain it, okay?
Okay.
What are the benefits of running the supercharger by itself and the accessories, by themselves?
Well, there's a number of reasons you want to do that. First off, a supercharger uses an 8-rib belt, and an 8-rib belt actually requires about 240 pounds on the pulley. They actually make a tension gauge for checking the tension on the belt. Now, when you run this regular accessories on the 6-rib, those require about 120 on the belt. Now, if you run a single belt on a setup, more than likely you're running 120 pounds on the belt, and you're not getting good seat on the pulley. Now, you can put an 8-rib pulley on everything and run an 8-rib belt, but then again, you're still probably running too low a tension. And if you put too high tension on the other accessories, so like the power steering pump, alternator, AC compressor, they're not designed to take that 240 pounds on the belt, and you end up wiping out the bearings after a while. I mean, you can run them, and lots of people do. I mean, there's lots of kits out there that are running a single belt, but I get calls from these guys all the time. Hey, I'm throwing belts on this thing. I'm, eating up power steering pumps. I'm eating up alternators. What do I do? Well, the trick is you put 2 belts on it like GM designed.
That's
Yeah,
all.
we get into that on a radio show a lot, and people ask us about aftermarket parts versus stock stuff, and I say, hey, my point of view is, the factory's engineered, like you said, spent a lot of money on engineering.
Oh yeah.
I look at that as the base platform. You can always go back to that, and you're going to be okay. And then the aftermarket companies like yourself have taken that and just improved on it. So that's why I'm an aftermarket fan, because it's just an engineering to the next degree. But you have to be careful because not everybody does the right thing. So you have to,
right.
But I like
do what's easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You see, Ray, but this is the thing, though. There are companies out there, though, that will use a one belt setup, though. And like Greg is saying, you're going to wind up wiping out all your accessories.
Well, if you don't run a lot of belt tension on it, you can run it for a long time, but you're not going to make the power that you want. One of the things that we found when we did the race drive, which is our 3-belt rigid tension system, so you can run any overdrive pulley combination on an LSA with high mount AC, is that we didn't get as much belt bounce in the high RPM range. So like if you go look and you Google LSA supercharger, we found a video of the Copo Camaro, and some guy had an engine compartment camera going, him running down the track, and you watch that tensioner and it's just bouncing like crazy. And I mean, it's bouncing probably a good inch, and letting the tension off of the belt. And we didn't want that, so that's why we went with a rigid tension system. And we put the belt at like 240, and we've had engines up on the dyno making 1,100 horsepower with a race drive on it, with no problems.
That's impressive.
It is. Proof's in the pudding.
I mean, and to top it off, it had high mount AC on it.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, the other thing I think about, one belt for everything. I'm always concerned with, if you lose that one belt, now you lose everything.
Well, yeah.
So
can't whimper home.
Yeah, right.
One thing too is you'll get a lot of impedance from the supercharger when you get up off the throttle. You'll get vibrations out of the supercharger, and that has a tendency to shock the belts. And when you're on a single belt system, it'll throw the belt off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you want to have a lot of tension on that belt, because you don't want it jumping off the track. And we're working on some things to even improve upon that. We also have a Gilmer drive conversion for the LSA.
I'm gonna put the link up. That was impressive. Hold on a second, I gotta get that.
Yeah, in fact, there's the pulley for the upper.
Nice.
We're like, oh, look.
Yeah, wow, right?
For you guys, that's our upper pulley for the LSA to put the big Gilmer drive on it.
Wow.
And
that's really cool.
Yeah, and we support 12 different overdrive ratios, so you can have your cake and eat it too.
What's the sense of having cake if you can't eat it?
That's right.
Oh, well, you're right.
And we put those on a lot of late model cars too. So we got guys running around in late model Camaros and Cadillacs running those Gilmer drives, and they love them, because it's got that old whine to it, like the old 671 stuff. When you would go to the drag strip and you'd see the Fueler cars, it's got that nice whine to it.
Yeah.
And the guys love that.
Oh, we do. let me ask you a question about the AC compressor.
Okay.
So when I was researching my project, I was told that a GM compressor would not work with the aftermarket AC system. And
well, yes and no.
Okay, so my question for you:
GM has 2 compressors. They have a variable displacement compressor, which you'll find on like a lot of the newer cars, the new ZL1s, stuff, and like that. And those actually have to be computer controlled. Some of the older ones, like the ones that came on the early Cadillac CTSVs, those are just standard displacement compressors. Those can work with some of the aftermarket systems, but everybody in the aftermarket will tell you they don't work because
Gotcha.
they want you to buy their compressor.
Right. I didn't buy that compressor, so I wanted.
Well, we got a compressor for you, Tori. So
You're awesome. I appreciate it. Because the question I was leading into was, let's say if you have let's say a Trailblazer SS, like Terry Wilson does, our friend Coverman 66.
Right.
He's doing LSA conversion in a 2006 Trailblazer Super Sport. LS3 rectangular port cylinder heads. He's doing it the right way. No adapters, nothing like that. And I'm not sure what he's running, but if he wanted to use your high mount kit in the Trailblazer SS configuration, that compressor would work with the AC in the Trailblazer.
Well, for something like that, I would recommend he use the parts off of a CTSV for the compressor and the power steering and the alternator, because it first off it'll look much better being factory in a late model car.
Right.
But he could still run a race drive or a Gilmer drive if he wanted to. But our stuff really is geared towards the old muscle cars. 69 Camaro, 70 Chevelle,
right?
That kind of stuff. Because you got plenty of room in the engine compartment, and the stuff sticks out pretty far on the high mount.
Right.
And that's why we did that, was to clear the chassis in the old muscle cars. So we didn't have the power steering pump running into the gearbox on a 70 Chevelle.
Exactly. You're right. I was just throwing that question out there. I know the newest stuff, they don't have the clearance problems that our old cars like Ray's GTO would have, or your Chevelle, or my 55. That's the challenge of putting these newer power plants in these old chassis and stuff. And making them.
I try to recommend to people that if they're done in a late model car, I tell them use the late model brackets from GM. They'll bolt right up. They'll probably bolt right up to your power steering lines. They'll bolt right up to your AC fittings probably, and it'll look more at home in a late model car. Now, if you're doing a complete build, starting from scratch and doing an old muscle car, I'm going to sell you my whole kit.
Oh, absolutely.
But for the late model cars, I try to stay with the late model stuff. It just looks at home in a late model car when you use the GM stuff.
And that makes perfect sense. But switching gears, and I want Ray to hear this. Ray, you're gonna love this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Greg, tell us what your shop was originally set up for, and what you did there, and where you're working.
Okay, so
the history of the shop.
The shop that I'm in now is 9,000 square feet, and this is originally EPD. This is the shop where we did all the cylinder heads for all the Pro Stock cars. Half of the shop is still set up for doing cylinder heads. We still have all the original masters of all the old Pro Stock heads, back. I mean, all the way back to the pounds per cubic inch days. And I've got, in fact, about 10 feet to my left here, I've got the original E460 prototype heads that we did for Bob Glidden and Ford. And we did 2 designs of that. Well, I should say Larry did 2 designs. I worked on them, but that was really his baby. And Bob didn't like the first design, and so we changed it. And that is actually the head. If you go look in the Ford Performance catalog and find the E460 head, that's the head that Larry designed.
Wow.
Is that cool, Ray, or what?
Talk about history, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah. He's making cool stuff for the old cars to make them new again, to make them ride and perform new.
And Larry does all my engineering. So all the drives that we've got, so the race drive, the Gilmer drive, all of those were all designed by Larry and me together. And he really loves that that engineering part, sitting in front of AutoCAD for hours on end and drawing things up. And, last year I signed up with SEMA and got in touch with GM and was able to get all the 3D models of all the motors and all of that. So that really helped us to really step our game up. And then of course, I got the new Haas here, and I got a Haas lathe over to the left here that I just recently got. And we're starting to diverse into more and more smaller products. We're doing some customized AN fittings. We're doing, as you can see, we're doing some pulleys. So we're starting to make our own billet pulleys here. And we're actually going to be making our own supercharger pulleys here. I got a job we're working on right now. I've got a brand new Magnuson TVS 2650 in here that belongs to a customer, and we're building a new drive for it, which is based off of the original race drive, but it's actually got a couple more pulleys, and we're actually going to be making our own crank pulley too, because nobody makes a 10-rib crank pulley for some reason. So we're getting off into making some other things. So it looks like we got somebody in here that says he has the A460 head on a 514. That's funny. Yeah, I helped work on the original prototypes. It was a fun project, back in the day, when I was doing that stuff. Everything we did was just, mesmerizing to me. We were doing sheet metal manifolds and
well, it still is mesmerizing.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were getting pallets of raw castings from GM and Ford and Mopar and all those, and we'd machine them up entirely. We actually did in this shop. We did the very first set of 5-inch bore space cylinder heads. When they came out with the 5-inch bore space blocks, nobody had a cylinder head, and
Wow.
we did the first one. And you know what we did? We took a GM DRCE casting and we cut it in half. And we welded up in the center and spread the casting apart, and then welded it back together around the perimeter, sent it out, reheat treated it, brought it back in the shop, and then fully machined it up at 5-inch bore spacing. So, all the valves were at 5-inch bore spacing. And, there's guys out there that are still running those heads to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, in fact, I was at Joey Gross's shop just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you guys who know who Joey Gross is. He's a pro stock racer out of Lodi, California. I've known him for years, and so has Larry. But they had a boat in the shop, and it had a set of the 5-inch bore space heads on it.
Yeah.
See, I'm new to this motor stuff since I've been having this show. I'm learning a lot about it. I'm usually like the more of a custom guy, just jump in the car and put custom stuff on it. But I'm learning a lot of motor stuff now, so I need to step up my game.
And of course, the race stuff is totally different than the street stuff. It's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's somebody's asking if we're utilizing any 3D printing technologies. Yes, we do. I actually have 2 3D printers that we print all of our prototypes on. And in fact, hang on a second.
There's some cool stuff.
Yeah, it is. Technology is getting loose.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we going to have in the next 10 years? You know what I mean?
A rocking chair.
Yeah.
So when we were designing the Gilmer drive, we had to 3D print some pulleys.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
This took about 24 hours to print.
Yeah.
The printer.
In
fact, the drive setup that we're working on right now for the Magnuson, we have a complete drive assembly printed up in PLA plastic. It's a great technology. And that was one of the really things that I brought from my computer background, is I brought all that 3D stuff, using SolidWorks and Fusion 360, so
Mhm.
I can take all these parts and draw them up in 3D and print them and do the CAD CAM for them and all of that.
I'm actually learning Fusion 360 now, trying to learn it. It's a rough a rough
Yeah.
invention, or what do you call it, venture.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn it. Yeah.
Well, I learned AutoCAD back in the 90s when I first started working at EPD. So I had a little bit of background in that. So so if somebody's asking if I see a day when 3D and plastic will replace billet for brackets and pulleys, I don't think the plastic will ever get that strong, but you can 3D print metal. So I can see that being a replacement someday. We've actually
Mhm.
looked into that, but the cost factor to 3D print parts, yeah, you could do carbon fiber, but I don't think it'll hold up to the horsepower levels that we're doing. I've got customers that regularly make 700-800 horsepower or more, and I still think you're going to have to stick with the aluminum for a while.
Now, you said that it took 24 hours to print that, so that you had a really big printer, a fast printer to build.
It's a big one. The one that I printed this one on is it's a G-Max printer. It's got a 16 by 16 by 12 printable area, and it prints in PLA plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yep.
think of it as a glorified hot glue gun.
Yeah, Legos.
And does one layer at a time.
Yep.
That's funny.
And, yeah, and that's really what it is. It's a glorified hot glue gun.
Well,
Melts plastic.
for it to do it in 24 hours, that's a mean machine, because my buddy built one, and it takes him a week to do something half that size.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a fairly modern printer. I think it was pretty cheap too. It was only like $3,000 for the printer itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the older ones on the market. But I actually have another printer. I bought an SLA, but I'm not as happy with the way that one prints as the way that this one prints.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about brackets and whatnot. And I mean, a few years ago, if you would have told me that intake manifolds and intake and engine parts we made out of plastic, I would have laughed you out of the shop. I would have said, "Get the hell out of here!" And now I'm working on this stuff left and right.
Well, remember I was telling you about my friend Joey, Pro Stock Racer. We actually printed some manifold runners for him for one of his Pro Stock motors, and we had it up on the dyno with printed runners in the manifold.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's.
I mean,
a few years ago,
gasoline doesn't bother. We actually had printed them and threw them in a bucket of gasoline, and left them in there overnight just to see if they did anything funny. And we pulled it out the next day. It was still the same, so we ran them in the motor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
How does it seem?
I lost you guys.
Hobby. And it went on the whole week. The whole week you can go by and watch it, get bigger and bigger.
What were they making, Louis?
A car. They printed the whole car.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got some pretty big printers out there. I've seen some at some of the machine shows that they're big enough. They'll print an engine block, but they're expensive.
Oh yeah.
$500 million machine.
All right, somebody's mic went.
An audio feed there, yeah.
I think that's Tori. He moved funny.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna get one of the kids to hardwire me into the.
No, you're good now. It went away.
I'm good now. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
We got rain here on the South Shore, Tori. So I don't know if you got it out your way yet, but we have it.
Oh, it's pouring out here.
Maybe it's
Now, go ahead. At the car show we had this past weekend, Dave Kingdig was there, and we were sitting eating lunch, and he was telling me about his 3D printer that has, or it's the CNC machine. You know how you can use it in touch points with the arm to calculate your. Well, he says he has one now. It's like a spray gun. You just wand over it, and it will measure It would
Yeah,
measure.
I'd love to have one of those.
Wow.
3D digitizer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. He said he
but-
just wands it by and it reads everything and comes up on the computer while he's moving.
Yeah, that stuff is really cool. There's a couple of companies that make that. I've seen it at SEMA. Yeah, I think they're like $100,000 for the really good ones.
Yeah. Well, he's
Yeah.
doing $300,000 cars, so
Yeah. I wonder if they'll take a two-party out-of-state forged check.
Right. Right.
Print
Among
the check,
friends, I'm
right?
sure.
Yeah, make it on the printer.
Yeah, 3D
Yeah.
special check.
Yeah, technology is jumped up in the last 10 years. It just went crazy.
You know, it's funny, like you said, Greg. I was involved with AutoCAD where I work also in the late '80s and '90s when it came on floppy disks. Even we used to get it that way originally. Then if I went to CD, but now I see my daughter is a design student, and I see what she's doing with AutoCAD. It's obviously it's not automotive stuff, but I see how the program has changed because I get to plot all her stuff for her because I have that ability at work, and it really has come a long way. They've put a lot of money into that program, and it is fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm actually still working on AutoCAD 14 from like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
because it has all the features that I like, and I've got the controls pretty much memorized in it. But we actually have a computer here in the shop that belongs to Larry. It still has AutoCAD 1 on it.
Wow, yeah. I have a copy. I have a copy of the early AutoCAD. I have it in the box. They used to come in those big heavy boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an old 386 over in the corner that he used to use on one of his CNCs, and it's got AutoCAD 1 on it. It's still
Can you
running
imagine?
3.1 on it.
Yeah, you just look at the computer technology and think, how the hell did it even start up? To run a program like that. It's amazing.
But if it works, run with it.
You know, this is back in the 80s when I was buying computers in the department. I work at a college, and we had to spec out the IBM machines, and we had to get the additional 1 meg of RAM so we could run a math coprocessor to do MathCAD and whatever. And that 1 meg of RAM cost us like $400 a chip. It was like, so that came in, it got like locked up between like 3 locked doors, and 1 meg of RAM. Yeah, that was it. And
I remember one of my first computers, a Amiga 500, back in the day. About a 5 meg drive for it, and we thought we'd never fill it up.
Oh yeah.
Now you got a 8 gig.
1 terabyte. I'm buying 1 terabyte drives for like $50. It's ridiculous.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. But,
so the computers have been really friendly to me, which has given me a lot of latitude in building parts. I started working with Fusion 360 and SolidWorks a couple of years ago, and I can prototype a part on the CNC here in half a day. I can have something in my hands.
Nice.
Whereas a couple of years ago when I first started, I actually had 2 CNCs that I used that belonged to Larry, and they're old knee conversion mills. They were built 35 years ago. There were a couple of old Enco mills. Wow. And they worked great, but you couldn't make any cool fancy parts like this.
Right.
And I can make this in 2 minutes now on this machine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's technology for you, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And then the lathe.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't get any work done for anybody because I'd be making my own stuff. I'd be going.
Well, that's the thing is I am making my own stuff. Since I started this business, I haven't worked a day since I started.
That's great.
When I quit my day job, I never looked back.
That's awesome. You know what? Make the stuff for yourself and sell it to everybody else because it works for you. It's going to work for everybody else then.
And I don't sell any part.
Making the doorknobs, I'd be making the bed frame.
Yeah.
The whole house would be all CNC'd.
Right.
Yeah. You can actually buy a CNC now. You can buy a small hobby style CNC for under $25,000.
Yeah.
Who makes it? It's try to remember their names. I actually looked at their stuff when I was first starting to look for a CNC, and they had a couple little hobby CNCs that were like $20,000. But I ended up actually buying this thing here, which this is an older CNC. It's a 2005, but when I bought it, it had 1,000 hours of machining time on it, which
Nothing.
is nothing. I mean, that's like 50 hours a year since it was built.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was hardly broke in. And same thing with my lathe when I bought it. You know, it was a 2004. It had 700 hours of machining time on it.
Wow.
That's nothing.
And usually when you go look at these things used, they got 30 or 40,000 hours on them. You know,
Yeah.
and they want a premium for them. Well, I paid a premium for these, but they had no hours on them.
Right.
That's even better.
Yeah. So I'm actually in the market for another lathe. I'm looking for one with live tooling and a sub spindle, so I can literally have it spit parts out that are done
Yeah.
instead of having somebody stand there and do a second op. You know, a lot
Nice.
like stuff like this. You know, this takes 2 ops in the lathe to make. With a sub spindle and a live tooling, this would be 1 op.
That's impressive. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
The workmanship
We'll have
on
some
it.
of those on your story.
Thank you.
Your setup will have these nice pulleys on it.
They're beyond reproach. I mean, like I said, you know, I really meant it when you were trying to get on, and I was, telling Ray and Lewis about, who you are and what you do, and how meticulous and how over the top and your attention to detail. I mean, ask these guys on the screen. I do my homework on people, and the more I read about you, the more impressed I was, and I'm so glad that you were able to, make it here tonight. Just so you know, though, I sent you a message, while I was, in cyberspace when I was getting my connection back. We're gonna schedule you again because because Lou, unfortunately, he had a family issue tonight.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm more than happy to come on again.
Oh no, so yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get you on, again. I just want to throw that out there and just let you know that he would have been here, but unfortunately, things happen.
Life gets in the way. I understand that.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I got a bone to pick with all these manufacturers, the parts and stuff. I have a '77 Cadillac, and nobody's making nothing for my car. What? I mean, come on, brother need parts.
Well,
brother needs to buy a CNC machine.
And I feel responsible because I found it.
It's about supply and demand. And
Right.
there's no demand, there's no supply.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was like, for what I got into doing the LSA superchargers. When I first bought my first supercharger, I bought it on eBay for $500 because GM was doing a recall on the cars, and it was a $20 part to fix it. Well, they were replacing the supercharger, and all the superchargers.
The isolated coupler.
They literally got flooded onto eBay. I went on eBay and there was like 50 of them for sale at $500 a pop. And I actually ended up buying 2 of them and got it into my shop. And, we tried to figure out, and that was how we built that first drive that we did. And then, down the road, we did the other one because people kept calling up, hey, I want to do overdrive. I want to run this. I want to make more power. And so, we tried with the original drive to make it work. We just couldn't make it work. And that's why we ended up making the race drive. And it's been an incredible drive system. People out there just love it. And it makes a ton of power. And, it just does the job. And that's one of the things that's made this a successful business is, it goes out there and makes power. It doesn't, they don't have to fix it, So,
yeah.
People
and the LSA is a popular swap.
Yeah. And it is a very popular swap. And, we've done probably a couple thousand of these things. And, it seems to be never ending requesting for them. I can hardly keep the things on the shelf,
Wow.
I remember when I first started making them, I made 10 sets thinking, man, I'm never going to sell these, Now when I do a run, I do 150 sets at a time.
Wow.
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fellas are talking me into doing a swap. So I think after I'm going to work on the car this year, but maybe next year my money will be in the right order where I can do the swap.
So
what
Then I can play. Then I can play with you guys.
You gonna put a 500-inch LS in there?
I wish.
You can do it.
Great.
You can do 500 cubic inches on a tall deck LS block.
That's right. That's right.
I got
Greg,
a 454 and a 441 here.
The wife
in the shop.
when the wife gives me the checkbook. That's what it depends on.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're
Just
doing a
take
$500 junkyard motor then.
Hey,
But you don't laugh at that. I mean, because $500 junkyard motor, you can go make 1,000 horsepower with it. If you play with it right.
I found a
Do you
place.
remember?
I found a place
Go
that
ahead,
has them
Wolf, I'm
too.
sorry.
He's gonna give me everything for $650. The wires, everything, the computer.
Yeah. You're more than likely probably going to want to run an aftermarket harness. You know, trying to rework a stock harness is a lot of work. When you can go buy a harness from like PSI Conversions, you can get a harness from them for like $500 for a motor. There's no reason to rework a stock harness.
Not anymore. There's not.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had the guy from PSI on here a couple weeks ago, didn't you?
We had John on a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they make nice parts. I mean, I'm a dealer for them. I have one of their harnesses in my Chevelle, and I've sold a couple to customers, and they make nice parts. You know, I also like Speartech stuff, but they're a little pricey. But John's made some really nice stuff over the years, and he worked for GM. You know, he did. I think he did the original design on the E38 ECM. I've talked to him a couple of times, but you know, he probably doesn't remember who I am. I'm nobody. So
No, you're not. Don't say that. Don't say that. I found you. You're somebody. So.
Okay.
Did you talk to John yet, or?
Did I talk to John?
Yes.
Oh, from PSI?
Yes.
No, I haven't talked to him.
Okay.
Is he going to call me, or should I call him?
Well, I'll send you his info also. This way, you guys can get together and stuff, because the guy who does does the what do you call it? The dealer stuff and everything. He's on vacation, Jeremy. So.
Oh, okay.
John's looking into it because Jeremy's on vacation. I texted Jeremy. He's like, "Yeah, I'm on vacation." So when John told me he was on vacation, I already knew it because I was.
Well, yeah, I'm already a dealer with them. I did a buy-in last year.
Right.
With them, but if he wants to be a dealer for me, I'll waive our dealer buy-in for him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Right after the show ends, you're going to be getting a text. This way, I'll put you guys together. Actually, I'll do an intro text.
Okay.
You see, Ray, I've come a long way with electronics since I started. Right now, I'm doing intro text, and
absolutely, Tori. Yeah, you're doing very well.
Getting all fancy and stuff.
Bring you over to Motor Mouth Radio and start helping us out over there, because.
Hey, by the way, Greg, I forgot to tell you, you're going to be a guest on Ray's show also.
Oh, okay.
That's just the way things work around here. You come on here, then
Oh, okay. I'm going to get passed around.
We do guest sharing, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can
do that.
Get you a lot of exposure. So
it's radio, so it's easy. You don't need a camera.
Oh, okay.
And you just call in anyway. So
right.
Well, I'll try and get my camera on my laptop fixed next time. I don't know what was going on with it. It just didn't want to connect. It might be the connection here at the shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Our internet's not super great. We don't have cable, so we're on a wireless DSL here. We're in the middle of nowhere. The closest thing to us is the whorehouse.
Oh.
I bet you their internet's working good.
Probably.
They got a little corner need right there. What
it's sucking your bandwidth away.
Yeah, you just you kind of connect in person over there. You don't need you don't need a mouse.
Yeah, so we're up in Mound House. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Nevada, but we're literally next to the exit to head up to Virginia City. So you drive up through Carson and then drive up towards Virginia City, and that's kind of what they call mound house. It's the industrial park where all the machine shops are. So we've got, Paco, who does all the motorcycle
Yeah,
frames.
sure, Paco. Big,
We've got, who else do we have up here? We've got the guys who do all the top fuel clutches. I can't remember their name, but they're right down the street. And in town, we've got T&D Machine. We've got Bill Miller Engineering. And then we used to have, what's his name? Sierra Engineering. They did Sierra Mold. They were, Sierra Racing is what they went by. They did all the NASCAR brakes for many, many years. And the guy who owns it, Ron, he's a good friend of mine. He actually did a lot of my outsourced lathe work before we bought a lathe. And I actually bought my first vertical mill from him when he closed up his shop.
Well, Tori and I are right off the Southern State Parkway at sea level, and we have more food joints than you could ever imagine. You need anything, you name it, we got it down here, right, Tori?
So you know what? This is what we'll do, right? We'll either pick up Greg over at Kennedy or MacArthur,
All right.
and we'll give him a tour of the South Shore. I mean, we could do that, you know?
Sure.
So you guys are in New York. I've actually been to New York a couple of times.
Whereabouts?
Well, I went to New York Comic-Con.
Okay.
Oh, nice. At the Javits Center, right?
Yeah, at the Javits Center. I went there twice. I'm kind of a big nerd when it comes to my personal life.
That's all right.
You know, I like that comic book stuff. In fact, I have Captain America.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, but I loved New York. It was a fun time there. We went and saw the memorial. We went around and we went to the Statue of Liberty and all the other sites. Lots of pizza places.
Yeah, all the stuff I haven't done, and I live here.
I love the food in New York. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though: do you have a CNC Captain America badge, a grill badge on one of your cars that you made?
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Do you have a CNC Captain America grill badge for any one of your cars?
No, I don't. But
you should.
Thanks for the idea.
It's a good idea.
Next week, right?
I just thought it was the first thing I'd make, man. It's like we're all into our stuff.
I'll have to do one. I'm actually prepping one of my cars for the Virginia City Hill Climb, which is in about 2 months. It's not my muscle car, but it's my turbocharged Mini.
Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So I went and put all new suspension on it, all new bushings and all that stuff. I put Wheelwood 6-piston brakes on it. We're putting a roll bar in it, 5-point harnesses. I stole the seats out of my Chevelle so I can put the 5-point harnesses in it. Just trying to get it ready. It used to be my daily driver, but it's not going to be my daily driver for much more.
What's the strategy behind that? I only know hill climb from the motorcycle world, where everybody, we all use elongated swing arms. So I'm thinking a shorter car is kind of contrary to what I know about hill climb. What do you know that I don't?
Well, the hill climb is actually a road race. It's a timed road race.
Okay, all right. I'm thinking hill climb.
So if you drive up to Virginia City, there's 2 routes. There's the standard street route, and there's what they call the truck route. And it's about 5.5 miles of canyon roads. It's 2-lane canyon roads. And every year they shut it off, I think, twice. And it's ran by the Ferrari Club. The same guys that put on the Silver State Classic, so do the Virginia City Hill Climb. And Spectre used to run a race up here too. They called the Spectre 341, but they stopped doing it for some reason, and I don't know why. But to get into the 341 club, you had to run the course in 3 minutes and 41 seconds.
Ah, okay.
And so if you Google it, you'll find some videos of it, and it's a fun drive. But there are a few scary parts of the road.
There always are.
You could go off the cliff if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I highly not recommend it.
Last year, some guy ran $1 million car off the road.
Oh, geez.
Into the dirt.
My
And,
summer
the
car
guy
is
who actually, what's that?
my summer car is a Fiat Spider, a 124 Spider that I've had for a
Nice.
while. And I was just talking to some guys at a cruise night the other night and explaining that, A-Boss had made these cars were rally cars back in the day into the mid 80s.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I have a book of nothing but rally Spiders because I was going to do a paint job.
Well, I grew up on European cars. My dad was a BMW mechanic. He was a shop foreman for BMW and Porsche. And so we always had a BMW, a Porsche, a Fiat, or something in the driveway that my dad was working on for somebody. My dad actually had, in 1970, he had a Volkswagen Bug with mechanical fuel injection off of a
Bosch
BMW
Jetronic. Yeah.
that ran 10s in the quarter.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Getting it.
I didn't know they were doing that.
Have you guys ever heard of the inch pincher? It's a very famous Volkswagen Bug.
No,
I haven't.
I'll have to look into that.
Well, it's a super stock guy. He's been running that thing for years. But my dad used to build his engines back in the late 60s. He used to build his motors, and my dad ran out of Kingdom Drag Strip, which is the old Lodi airfield, Lodi, California, which they closed, I think, in 1969 or 1970. And the final race of the year was my dad and the inch pincher with the motor that my dad built in the inch pincher.
Oh.
My dad won. My mom still has the clippings from the newspaper from that.
Nice.
And he actually sold the car a couple of years after that, but he kept a lot of the motor parts. I actually have the cylinder head sitting in the back of the shop.
Of course.
And one of these days I want to do something with them, but I've never had time. I barely have time to work on my other cars. I'm gonna have to start
I'll tell you,
to work on my cars here pretty soon.
Yeah.
On my shelf next to me, I have a couple of factory K and L Jetronic manuals, all the training manuals. So that was all the original, that early Bosch stuff. So it still creeps up sometimes.
I had all of my dad's BMW books, and he had stacks and stacks of them. And he had all the certificates for the training and all that stuff. He did all that stuff. When he was working at BMW when I was a kid, when you went into the shop, they had 12 bays. They had 6 on the left side of the shop and 6 on the right-hand side of the shop. Well, he had all the bays on the left-hand side of the shop.
Wow.
And there were 6 other mechanics, and they were on the other side.
Wow.
And he always had 5 or 6 cars tore apart. And he had benches with transmissions torn apart and engines torn apart. And,
God bless him.
Yeah, I mean, he was
I'll
a
have
very
some
brilliant
solidarity
guy.
for BMWs.
There you go. Yeah.
The biggest logo on a
I
T-shirt I ever
love the
saw
old
in my life.
BMWs. I'd love to get my hands on an old M series BMW. But they were just great cars.
Yeah.
My mom drove a 320 was a 320i when I was a kid. I loved them. I grew up on them.
Yeah. My buddy over here at the auto parts store drives a 1968 2002, and he claims the thing's got like 400,000 miles on it with all the different iterations.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the body has fallen
The old
apart.
2002s.
Yeah.
The square
The
body
round
things,
light one.
I remember those.
And he's just like welded it back together, fixed the body, and put it back in. Like nothing stops this car. He just drives it day in, day out, all year round. It's just he's had it since I think the early 70s, and just drives it every day.
Good German engineering.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Absolutely.
Hey, switching gears, bro. Switching gears though. Tell them about your '70s Chevelle.
Oh, the '70s Chevelle is actually the car that started this business. So when I was still working as a web developer, I was making really good money. And I decided I wanted a new hot rod. And so I searched around and found a '70 Chevelle and brought it from back east, actually, on eBay. And got it back here, and the paint wasn't as good as I thought it was when I bought it. And so I decided I was going to strip it down and paint it. And so I tore the vinyl top off and started restoring it. And well, one thing led to another. By the time I was done, the whole car was apart. And searching for paint ideas on the car, I ran across a video, and this is the video that did it in for me. It was the 1966 orange Chevelle from the Roadster shop that they were debuting at some autocross or something like that, and they were just tearing the track up with this thing. And hold on, I'm getting a low battery here. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Plug in.
It is plugged in. That's the hard part. Hang on, let me double check this. Let me try another spot here. I may have to stand up here for a few minutes.
Okay.
See if I can get a charger.
How you looking now?
Yeah, it's not giving me a ding.
Uh-oh. Well, we're going to get kicked off of here anyway soon, right?
No, we got an hour actually. 11 o'clock it kicks off.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know when to two.
I could hit the button to make it go longer, but then they charge us.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
What I did was I scheduled Sam Madavi in October because he got kicked off when we had him on back in May. So
Still trying to get Sam on the radio show. I sent him another email, didn't hear back from. I got to give him a call.
okay.
Call him. Yeah.
Hey, while we got a little
You
pause.
guys may lose me here in a few minutes.
Okay.
But if you lose me, well, then we'll just continue it on the next show.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
But,
This is a warm up.
yeah, so I started building the Chevelle, and we've got an IRS in the back. We crafted a IRS out of a ZL1 Camaro in it. It's got ZL1 brakes all the way around. It's got Corvette wheels. It's got a 441 cubic inch supercharged LSA in it. TKO 600, 5-speed, dual disc clutch, Tiger cage. I mean, it's a pretty hardcore setup.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a 10-year project, and it's kind of stalled on me a couple times because, business gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you used an LSX block for that build, correct?
Yeah, it's actually got a tall deck in it, so it's
Nice.
a 4065 bore with a 4250 stroke.
So wait a minute, your LSA kits work on a tall deck block also then?
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. If you actually look at our alternator power steering bracket, the two bottom holes on the bracket are slotted, and that's so you can put it on a tall deck block.
So your kits are beautiful, functional, and versatile.
Yes, yeah. Most people don't know that, but that was one of the reasons I designed that bracket was because I bought one. I'll be honest, I bought one from a competitor of mine, and I got.
You won't say who.
I won't mention any names, but I was severely unimpressed with the quality of the part, and so I'm like, I can build something better than this, and so I did.
Nice.
Well, that's where the Lamborghini came from.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly where it came from. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, everything we've done, it really was to build my car. And, I was posting stuff up on the car forums, and the guys on the car forums were like, that's cool, I want one. And so I started making more and more parts. And, one day, my day job, my boss had made some promises to me, and he never kept them. And I came to him and I said, hey, look, you made these promises to me and you haven't kept your deal. And I want you to, pay me what you've agreed to pay me, or I'm leaving. And, he didn't think I was going to leave. He thought I was bluffing. And so he like, no, I'm not giving it to you. And so I'm like, okay, I'm giving you my 2-week notice. And I literally quit my job before I even planned on what I was doing for the business.
Wow.
And I just jumped in head first. I had money in savings, and I blew through that in about 6 months. But by that time, I was already making money. So
Nice.
here I am, almost
Yeah.
5 years later, still doing this and looking at expanding.
Yeah, you're
Nice.
definitely one of the lucky ones, that's for sure.
That's awesome. So, Greg, let me ask you. So, you're doing the serpentine kits now for the LS motors. What's next for your business? Are there any new projects?
Yeah, I got a couple of top secrets that we're working on. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
So we're doing an LSA multi-belt setup that you can put in a 32 Roadster.
Ooh, nice.
So it's going to have, I'll let you in, it's going to have 3 belts. It's going to have 1 belt running the power steering pump and water pump. It's going to have 1 belt running the supercharger and 1 belt running the AC and the alternator in a low mount position in front of the block.
Wow.
Really?
Yes, with a full-size compressor.
I love it.
So
love it.
It's got a 709 compressor on it, and we've got it where it'll fit inside the frame rails of a 32 Ford Roadster. And we actually measured a real 32 Ford Roadster.
That's tight.
One of the guys,
It's narrow,
one of the guys
yeah.
that works, one of the guys that works here for me that runs my mill, he has a real 32 Ford Roadster that he's owned since 1969. And it's actually been raced on Bonneville a couple of times. And we went over there and measured it to make sure that we could make our stuff fit in it. Another one we're working on is we're going to be doing an LT motor, LT1, LT4 stuff.
Nice.
And we're gonna kind of model that after the Roadster stuff, where we're going to stick everything in front of the block and make it multi-belt. And then, of course, we've got the Magnuson 2650 we're working on right now as well. And we call that our mag drive. And that's actually based on the original LSA race drive, but it's got 4 pulleys in it. And it's 10 rib. So they say that supercharger is rated, I think, for like 1,500 horsepower. So you'll be able to stick it in a muscle car, make 1,500 horsepower, and have AC.
Is that crazy?
It's good to hear about someone doing LT1 stuff. I have one of them still, and it's like the forgotten child.
Well, actually, there's a lot of LT stuff out there. Just it's all super expensive, you know. And there's some really nice stuff too. But we're just going to do something that we would do, which is different from what everyone else is going to do.
Right.
Greg, you mean the new LT stuff, correct?
Yeah, the LT4, LT1. So the 6th gen.
Oh, the second one. Yeah. Okay.
Right. You got the first. Yeah.
I do have the bastard child one. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a motor sitting here that I bought about 8 months ago, and it's just been kind of dying a lonely death over here. I just haven't had time to work on it. I got too many other projects that I'm cooking, So we're trying to finish up the 2650 first, because the supercharger belongs to a customer, and he was gracious enough to send it in to us and let us use it for development of the drive system. Of course, he gets the drive system really, really cheap. So, he's very happy to do it. And he actually had an LSA that he ran with our race drive on it. So he knew our stuff ran good. So he was more than happy to, spend $6,000 and send a supercharger to us.
That's awesome. And you know what? Here's something else. Here's a little food for thought also. If anyone's looking to upgrade an LSA, let's say a Magnuson, in the let's say in the ZL1 Camaro configuration, your drive will actually work with that, correct? With the upgraded supercharger?
Well, so if they run a Magnuson 2300, which is Magnuson's replacement supercharger for the LSA, our drive does work with it. They do have to run a 75 millimeter or smaller supercharger pulley, because you can put bigger ones on it, but it's designed to run with a 75 millimeter on it. And actually, if you look, see this part right here?
Yes.
This is an fitting for a Magnuson 2300 supercharger. So it takes 2 of these and replaces that big giant steel manifold they got on the front of the supercharger, and makes it all AN. And we actually had to do this for the muscle cars because the steel manifold would come down on the passenger side of the motor and run into the AC compressor.
Wow. So you really thought of everything. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. And we've actually did a couple other pieces for it too. So this is another piece that we make. So this is a inline fill port. So when you run coolant to the supercharger, you want to have the highest point so you can purge air from the system. Well, this here actually takes a little cap in the top, and it's a twist lock, and you can put this in line anywhere in the system and purge the air from the system. So that's like for the Magnuson. So you can mount this up on the side of the manifold, and it's got a cap in it, and it's similar to this one right here. So this is our LSA setup, and if you look, this is the fill port.
that's
This actually
impressive.
goes in the back of an LSA lid, so it replaces the factory fittings. Just mounts onto the back of the lid, and you can put 2 AN lines on it for running custom lines on the LSA. Now, there's 2 lids. There's an LSA lid and a ZL1 lid.
Right.
And we actually make parts for the ZL1 lid, which are like this one here. And this actually just clips on to the lid on their little barb fitting that comes out of the lid. And then it's got the cap on the top here with the fill port and then the 10 AN fitting.
That's a lot of trick stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we actually copied what GM did. You know, GM has their little fancy quick connect clip with a clip and an O-ring and all that. And we just made it. We just made it an AN version.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the guys doing the superchargers love that. You know, they got well, like here's a straight fitting, so you can see it's. I don't know if you can see how well you can see inside there, but it's got a spot for an O-ring, and this will actually slide onto the fitting and then converts it to AN. So it's literally a plug and play for the GM stuff.
That's impressive.
Very cool.
So
It's nice. You know, it's just that's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, 4 years ago I could have never made this with the machinery that I had, and you know, buying a Haas was the best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Buying 2 Haas's was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, your imagination can go wild.
Oh yeah, and I've been making crazy parts. You know, I've made parts for my own car. I've made my own battery tray for the Mini because I put a Braille battery in it, and nobody made a battery tray for it, so I made my own. And you know, and yeah, I mean, and we're getting ready to make supercharger crank pulleys. I got blanks here to make
nice.
supercharger pulleys from. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so just got to get busy and make parts.
Yeah.
I mean, your imagination is just, you know, it's so impressive. I mean, the
Oh,
parts you're putting out. I mean, the passion that you have for this. We need more people like you in the hobby.
Oh yeah,
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, people like me are getting fewer and far between. You know, people that are very imaginative and skilled enough to actually make this stuff. But you know, they made the technology so easy to use nowadays. Like, you know, kids can go to school for a year and learn how to do this, but they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I actually went over to the community college when I was getting ready to buy my Haas. I took the CNC class that they had over there because one of the guys that runs one of the big machine shops here in town runs the course, and they use all Haas machinery. And I took the class. There were 4 people in the class.
Wow.
And
My God.
the next semester, they shut down the class because they didn't get enough students.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad because, you know, there's so much potential in this industry.
Yeah.
People, it's so easy to learn. I mean, you can go online and learn all that stuff. There's the guy who has that show on Discovery, Titans of CNC.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, go to his website. It's Titans Academy, because you're going to learn in Fusion 360. They have courses online that are free for you to not only learn how to use Fusion 360, but how to use the cam features and how to machine the parts that you
Really?
design in Fusion 360. And it's all free. And I've watched a number of his videos. They're really good.
What's the name of it again?
It's Titans of CNC, and it's like Titans University or something like that. Just Google it; you'll find it. You'll find them on YouTube as well.
Hard program for for guys not into that industry.
Yeah, I mean it's a great resource if you want to learn it. And they try to get it into all the colleges, community colleges, and some of the schools and stuff like that. So, yeah, Titan Gilroy is his name. Yes, it is. Yes, thank you, John. Yeah, he in fact, he's a very smart guy. Um, Great video series. I mean, they're constantly adding to it. And the great thing, the great thing with the Fusion 360 is you can get a license as a hobbyist. It's free. I mean, if you want to learn it, you can get a free license for it. You don't have to pay, the $350 a year, which,
Oh, wow.
in my opinion, is cheap. I mean, a license for SolidWorks is $1,500 a year, and I'll be honest that I'm probably going to not be renewing my license on SolidWorks when it expires in 2 years. But the Fusion 360 is a great product. I swear by it, because I use it every day for the mill and the lathe, and it's super easy to do.
I'm on his site now. He's doing some stuff.
Yeah, it is. And AutoCAD, Autodesk, they're pouring a lot of their resources into it. They're trying to really compete with SolidWorks, and they're doing a really good job of it. And the great thing is it's mostly cloud-based, so they update it every month. Every month there's something new in the software. Like when I first started using it, when you do the cam simulation, they didn't have part comparison, so you couldn't compare the part to the machine part. You just had to look at it and think, oh, okay, that looks right. Well, now they actually have it color coded, where as you're machining it, it'll show you a color comparison of how close it is to the actual part that you have designed.
Wow.
And they just added that feature just recently, but they had that in SolidWorks for years. And that was actually one of the first things I asked about when I started using Fusion 360 is where's that comparison feature? And they're like, oh, we're working on it. It took them about 6 months from when I asked, and they had it in there.
That's pretty slick.
That's a fact. The technology these days, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah. And Autodesk has always made great products, and they've always had great support of it. I wish they would pay me for all this good publicity.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great product, and I've been using it since AutoCAD 14. I think is when I started using it, which was back in the early 90s.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I kind of remember using 10 before that. I think it went 8, 10. Yeah. But I got to say, Greg, with the community college thing, being that I work at a college, I kind of see what happens. It's not always the students' fault that don't come in. The faculty have to get out into the high schools and into the junior schools, and they have to pitch their program. And if they're not getting off their asses and beating the bushes,
you'll see some of that. You'll see some of that in the bigger cities, but some of the more rural places like Carson City, we're only 50,000 here population. So, we don't have a machine shop or an auto shop in the high school.
Right.
We just don't have it. And it's sad because, when I went to high school, we had an auto shop and we had a machine shop.
Right. Yep. Yeah, me too.
I didn't go to them because I went to the machine shop and auto shop after school. So, I didn't take them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really sad because, there's a huge demand for machinists in the industry. The guy that taught the course over at the community college, Sven, he runs Weinberg Machine down the street, and they do millions of parts every year, and they do a lot of aerospace and military stuff. And he would use that course as a recruitment to recruit employees for his
Sure,
business.
of course, yeah.
And you know, he's struggling to find guys to fill positions at his shop.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually had him ask me if I knew of anybody who was looking for work.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow. See,
Yeah,
Lou's a
sad.
big advocate of BOCES, and
yeah,
he had a talk with my son Joe, and that's what made Joe go to the welding class. And Joe starts up again in September for the final, part of the welding course. Last semester there was 9 kids in the class.
Wow.
yeah, I can
9.
believe it. I can believe it.
I mean, the one-on-one attention was phenomenal, but
That's
9.
the only really upshot to something like that is
Right.
The teacher to student ratio is skewed the way it normally isn't. But
Yeah, I learned how to weld.
Right.
I got stuck in the welding room when I worked at EPD and was taught how to weld sheet metal manifolds.
oh wow.
But,
Yeah.
So I had a personal teacher, so I didn't have to go to school to learn how to weld. But funny thing is, I haven't picked up a TIG torch in probably 2 years. So, but it's like riding a bike. You just have to get in on the pedal and get your groove back on welding, because it really is a finesse.
Mm.
When you're doing TIG welding, it's a fine art. I've seen some guys that can weld TIG that just blow my mind of how beautiful their welds look. My stuff is pretty gory looking, but it's functional.
Yeah.
That's Lou. He's natural on the
Oh,
weld. Yeah.
He's a spatter welder, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, Lou has some mad skills. I mean, and my son Joe, I'll tell you, he took to TIG welding. I was surprised. It takes people a long time to master, and my son Joe, he's got a knack for that. I mean, I send Lou pictures of things he does in class, and and Lou's not gonna Lou, he's not gonna sugarcoat anything either. So, but
yeah, I think
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him.
I found my niche with the machining stuff. That's probably the thing I'm the best at is machining parts, and I enjoy every bit of it. I'll come in here on nights and weekends and machine parts just because I want something fun to do.
Yeah.
So,
Now I have a question. Do you do like specialty parts away from what you do? Like if
specialty projects, yes, we do occasionally do specialty projects. They do get a little expensive sometimes, but yes, I mean, if you had some custom part you wanted made, we could make it, within limitations of our machinery.
right.
But yeah, I mean, I can build pretty much anything. I mean, you saw this. I mean,
Right.
That's impressive.
I mean, and then of course, well, here was something that was kind of a specialty project. So this is a manifold to eliminate a water pump on an LSA. And there's actually another bracket that goes on the front here and mounts the LSA drive. So this was done for a drag car with no water pump. So they wanted to run, an electric water pump. And so it's actually 2 pieces. So if you look at it, here's the back piece, and you can see it's full of O-ring grooves and bolt holes. And this actually mounts up to the back side of this.
That's gorgeous.
And this was a special project. I actually only made like 5 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've sold 2 of them. We have them listed on the website for sale. But the first one was done for a Bonneville car, and then the second one was done for a guy in Australia that was doing some show car, and he wanted to run an electric water pump. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So, but it's got all O-ring grooves in it and all that, and that was a very specialized piece. I had to make a couple of custom fixtures for it, but it took me about 2 days to build 5 of them. and I ended up. I think I charged the guy. I was like $500 or $600 to make the part.
Yeah.
What's impressive,
One-off,
I
huh?
mean, it's functional, it's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's
It
nice
is a nice
knowing
part.
guys who can fab because when I was at the Syracuse Nats, I found a guy who he actually has a machine shop. He makes gauge panels, and I bought a finned gauge panel, and I contacted him, and it ends up I wanted an air cleaner lid made for my car for dual quads to match the pattern of my fin valve covers that are like from the 70s, and he did it. I made him a sketch. I took some
Oh, yeah.
dimensions, and he made it for me in his shop out back. It was great.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's just
Yeah,
it's a one-off piece.
There's a lot of places that'll do that. I tend to try and stay away from the custom one-off stuff, only because it cuts into my production and development time of developing new products and stuff like that. But for special occasions, if it's something really cool, I'll work on it.
Yeah. Well, he put this in his
Especially
catalog.
especially if it's something I can sell too.
Right.
You know,
Oh, of course.
If it's related to an LS and I can roll it into my product line, I'll do it.
Naturally.
Nice. That's impressive. I mean, I still can't get over, the history involved. You start, where you've come, where you're going. I mean, I can't
tell
thank you enough.
Who made this all possible was Larry, the guy who owned EPD. He backed me up when I told him I wanted to do this. He says, "Do what you got to do," and he goes, "If you fail, I'm right behind you." And I started in my little 2,000 square foot race car shop, and the first run of parts I did for customers, I did them all by hand. I drilled every hole by hand on my manual mill with this. And after about 20 sets, Larry's like, "Why don't you come over and figure out how to use the CNC and make a fixture plate and make your parts on the CNC?" And so that's what I ended up doing. And I actually still have the mill here with the fixture plate on it, still loaded up with one of my programs. I actually still run some parts on that old mill. But it's a 35-year-old mill. It takes 30 minutes to run the part, and I've actually made a new fixture plate for the Haas, and it takes 3 minutes on the Haas.
Wow. That's production.
I lost audio, guys.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
You got it back now, or awesome? Yeah, Lewis Lee, you just froze for a second.
Oh,
I don't know if it was me or him. Yeah, I'm having my own issues over here.
Yeah, I heard one word from Lewis.
I'll blame the weather.
I was saying that that's a big up tick from 30 minutes to a few minutes.
Oh yeah. All the jobs that I've moved over to the Haas have all gone from like 20-30 minutes on the old mill to 2 or 3 minutes on the new mill.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
It's not even enough time to get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, mess up your coffee break.
That's what I have my guy Bob for. Bob stands at the machine, and Bob's an old retired cam grinder from Earth and Howard's Cam. He's an old Bonneville racer, and he's retired, and he just likes to sit in front of the CNC and load parts up, and he just loves it.
Yeah.
He's actually one of the original 200-mile-an-hour guys. If you look in the SCTA rule book, he's in there. He ran 203 in I think 1963.
Wow.
And that was in a belly tanker, and the belly tanker is now owned by NorCal Speed. The red and white belly tanker they have.
Yeah.
That's his old car.
Wow.
Yeah, they had bought it and restored it, and a couple of years ago, Bob gave me all of his trophies, and we shipped them to them, so they had them. If you look on my Instagram feed, some of my very early posts on there, I took a couple of pictures of a couple of his trophies on there, and they're up on there. But
nice.
yeah, Bob just loves running the CNC, so he's my guy when it comes to sitting in front of running 2-minute parts, and then I can go off and do other things.
Gotta have a guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
And I got a couple of guys who work for me. I got Larry does all my engineering. He doesn't actually come into the shop almost never, unless it's to make some measurements on a block or something. His brother comes in and works for me on occasion, and he actually works over at T&D. He's been over there for like 25 years. He's actually getting ready to retire. He'll probably come work for me part-time when he retires. And then I have another guy that comes in and works part-time as well. So I got a couple of part-timers, which is just enough for me to stay ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Nice. Wait, fellas, this
10:35, 10:33,
Froze.
10:30.
About time
10:32.
to call it. About time
10:32.
to call it a night.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
getting tired, and my allergies are killing me. This weather up here is just
Yeah.
weather up here. Yesterday and today, I don't know, with my lungs and stuff. Oh my god,
Yeah. It was thick. It was very
it
thick.
was horrendous.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
I gotta
guys,
say, I had a
listen,
really good time, guys, it was a lot of fun talking to you guys and just BSing about cars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Real soon with
I'm
Lou.
more than
Okay?
happy to do it anytime.
that's what we do. And you're welcome to come anytime. You don't have to have an invite. Just come anytime. Let us know. We'll get you on. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Before we jump off, I'm on vacation, so I've been doing a lot of posting and stuff on the social media. But we have now 26 different items in the store, Plan and Traffic store. So if you go to planandtraffic.com, you can buy a hat, shirt, which I think I got one on now. You see anything? Yep. Buy a shirt, hats.
Very fashionable, by the way.
Yeah, fashionable. But yeah, man, it helps us out. It helps us, pay for the internet stuff that we do. So, I got the prices down, pretty reasonable. So you can get a nice shirt or hat or underwear or, whatever.
Cool.
It could be a hat, a brooch, a pterodactyl. Right?
Yeah, it could be anything. And also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're growing that. All our shows are going on YouTube. Just in case something happens with the network, you can always find us at YouTube. So go check that out and pump and hit the little bell and the subscribe button. All the good stuff.
You found all that. Did you ever find that carburetor you were looking for?
Yes, I did. A friend of mine found it in North Carolina. Oh, you got it right there. He's supposed to be sending it, but he's messing around. So hey,
I'm thinking about putting it on my car.
no, send it.
It's a 3236.
He's supposed to send it. He said Monday, but it never got here. So I didn't send him no money yet. So hey,
Did you specify which one?
No, right. Yeah. Which Monday? Yeah.
yeah. Okay, fellas, I appreciate everybody in the live feed.
I don't know. Some people.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
All right, Greg, was a pleasure talking
Greg,
with you.
yes, thanks for coming on, Greg. We appreciate it.
You guys do it. I look forward to doing it again.
Greg, it was a pleasure.
Excellent.
All right.
For sure. Okay, guys.
Absolutely. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?
Okay. I'll talk to you later, Tori.
All
Good
right,
night, Greg.
All right.
Good night.
See you
Good night,
later.
So look.
All right. Good night, Ray. Good night, Lois.